Welcome to episode 8 of Myths from Beyond, where we, every episode, will do a deep dive into an entity or creature in myths, legends, and folklore, or a haunted place from all around the world. In this episode, we're going to Victoria in Australia and the Old Geelong Gaol. There are places where history is remembered and places where it's said to linger. Behind the cold blue stone walls of the Old Geelong Gaol, lives were forever changed by fear, violence, punishment, and loss. Prisoners awaited execution in silence. Children slept behind iron bars, and guards patrolled the corridors that have echoed with footsteps for more than 170 years. Long after the last inmate left, those echoes are said to have remained. The Geelong Gaol was opened between 1853 and 1991 and was a maximum security prison. The design is a so-called cruciform, and it means that the building resembled a cross. The middle is a 3-story central block with 4 wings. East and West Wing was for tiny cells, sometimes having up to 3 people per cell. North Wing was the administration block, and South Wing was the kitchen, hospital, and tailoring shop. Between 1853 and 1865, it was a jail for convicts and prisoners. Between 1865 and 1872, it was an industrial school for girls, typically for those convicted of vagrancy, which is those children that was unhoused, unemployed, and roaming without visible means of support. The 1864 Neglected Children's Act established to remove neglected or criminal children and placing them into specialized industrial or reformatory schools, declaring children wards of the states. Between 1868 and 1873, the Geelong housed 192 students in the East, South, and North Wing, while male and female prisoners continued to occupy the West Wing. Critiques led to a change in 1874, which introduced the boarding out system that transitioned many children into foster homes. Women and children were only incarcerated during the 1800s, but by the early 1900s, all women were transferred to a female prison. Male were held at the Geelong throughout all operational periods. After the school was closed, the Geelong became a hospital jail for the colony, chosen for its coastal location. It became known as the Prison of the Ill because of its role as a hospital for the colony's vulnerable inmates. But despite the work of medical officers, the Geelong Gaol had hundreds of deaths as prisoners passed away due to illness and diseases. During World War II, the Geelong turned into a military detention barracks. Up to 192 members of the Army, Navy, and Air Force, along with some international soldiers, were incarcerated for military offenses. In July 1945, the largest breakout in Victorian prison history took place at the Geelong, and 22 men escaped from the barracks. Between 1947 and 1958, the Geelong went back to being a hospital jail, and between 1958 and 1991, it was a training prison. In July 1991, the Geelong Gaol closed as a prison, and the remaining prisoners was transferred to the newly constructed Barwon prison. In 1995, the Rotary Club of Geelong took over management and opened the jail as a museum. During this period, the museum focused on the history of the jail and Victoria's penal system, rather than hosting rotating art exhibitions. In 2019, the jail was sold into private ownership and reopened as the Geelong Jail Museum, now named the National Crime and Justice Museum. The museum showcasing the history of colonial crime and punishment in Victorian jails. Let's jump back in time a bit and talk about the executions. Between 1854 and 1865, the Geelong had 6 executions, and all executions carried out there were by hanging. A few historical details is that the first execution in 1854 were public, taking place at the gallows outside the jail, attracting spectators. Later executions were conducted inside the prison using the jail's gallows. Death row prisoners were typically held in special condemned cells before executions. The Geelong has been in some media. In 1994, the prison was used as a filming location for the Australian film Every Night, which depicts lives inside a maximum security prison. February 10, 2014, the TV series Haunting Australia devoted an entire episode to Geelong Jail. The program portrays the prison as one of Australia's most haunted locations and investigates reports of shadow figures, disembodied voices, and other unexplained phenomena. It was the second episode of the series. May 12, 2024, Sam and Colby on YouTube collabed with another YouTube channel called The Boys, and they spent the night at Geelong. Now, let's talk about the hauntings. It's a lot of auditory hauntings at the Geelong. Sounds like disembodied voices, footsteps, phantom whistles, and if you hear them, feel free to whistle back. And a little girl laughing. Apparitions are also common, and hearing and seeing solid metal cell doors open and close on their own. In solitary confinement, there is a clear silhouette of a man sitting, and the feeling of being choked, getting scratched, or getting your hair pulled is also common. Some visitors and paranormal investigators claim to hear unexplained knocks, footsteps, or heavy feelings around the execution area. There are also reports of a feeling of overwhelming sadness, dizziness or pressure in the chest, hearing the sound of a rope creaking. People have also said to see a hooded figure standing by the gallows, but they don't know if it is a prisoner or if it is the executioner. This is because when it was time for an execution, both the prisoner and executioner put on a face mask. Thomas Menard is the most famous spirit in Geelong due to him being the last person being executed. His hanging went really wrong, and the hanging took 15 minutes. He is buried at the grounds of the jail, and a local legend says that he is buried standing up, facing the jail, but there's no proof of this. The morgue is said to be haunted by a woman who is believed to have died either during childbirth or by suicide in the jail hospital. People have reported being physically pushed out of the room, leaving with unexplained bruises. Another male spirit has been seen pressing his face against the glass dividers. Some regular investigators say that the old kitchen feels more active than many of the cells. This is where shadow figures and negative non-human entities is said to reside. Reported experiences include cookery-like clinking sounds, the smell of cooking when nothing is being prepared, or sudden cold spots confined to one corner of the room. Activity usually starts off playful due to a little boy named Johnny. He is known to be friendly and active with paranormal investigators' equipments. But there is something that scares Johnny and forcing him to leave. With some recent visitors mention feeling an unusually calm but unmistakable presence there rather than anything threatening. East Wing seemed to be where children resides, and some reports are hearing a young girl crying or laughing when no one are present, seeing a small figure in a Victorian-style dress walking down the corridor before disappearing or briefly peeking around the banister, feeling someone tugging at their clothing or hand while walking through the East Wing, the sound of light footsteps, often described as a child skipping down or up the stairs. The cells are active, and the most active ones are cells 44, 45, and 96. Reports from cells 44 and 45 are noises, people being sworn at, women being dragged in and men being pushed out, and people being scratched. Cell 96 is where the last murder in the jail happened. In 1987, Martin Elazar was stabbed in the neck with a shiv. Some reports from the cell is people feeling sick and like they're on a boat, like the cell is moving or swaying. Seeing an apparition walk out of the cell, lean over the balcony and looking down. People that are looking up toward the cell can see someone looking down at them. A prison officer wearing a blue jumper with silver buttons and an old-fashioned hat has been seen on or around the central staircase. People try to talk to him, but are being ignored. Sometimes people will only hear heavy footsteps or feeling watched from above. This can be the same god that has been seen in one of the guard towers. This tower has a door that opens on its own and a phone that rings. This phone has not been connected in 33 years, and even the cable is disconnected. So when the lights go out and the corridors fall silent, Old Geelong Gaol becomes more than a historic prison. It becomes a place where fact and legend blur together. Its walls bear witness to decades of suffering. Its cells hold stories of lives forever changed, and its haunting reputation continues to draw those searching for answers. The countless reports of unexplained sights, sounds, and sensations ensure that its mystery lives on. Perhaps every strange noise has a logical explanation, or perhaps some stories are carved so deeply that they refuse to be forgotten. As you leave through the heavy iron gates, you may feel relieved to have escaped the darkness behind you. But did you truly left it behind? Or did something unseen leave with you? If you like this and want to hear more myths, legends, and folklore from all around the world, then please like and subscribe. Until next time, take care.